Welcome back to another video, guys, and today I'm going to tell you why I'm switching from this camera to the new Nikon Z6ii. So let's get into it. So welcome back to another video, guys. I hope you guys are all doing well. If you're new to the channel, definitely subscribe. We got more content coming. I've got a bunch of videos coming from Acadia National Park up in Maine, including some photography, videography, and a bunch of exploring that we did up there in the national park. And yeah, definitely subscribe if you want to see some of that content coming at you soon. So today I wanted to sit down and talk to you guys about why I'm switching from this camera, which is the Nikon D500, to the Nikon Z6ii, the new mirrorless camera that just came out. So essentially what I want to talk about is how much of a struggle it has been deciding on a new camera. All this new talk in the camera world with mirrorless cameras, DSLRs. I'm here to help you guys make that decision on what camera you want to upgrade to or what camera you want to buy for the first time. So to start it off, I wanted to explain why I'm using this camera currently. This is the Nikon D500. A lot of people are switching over to Canon and Sony lately, and I just happened to start off with a Nikon camera. So about 8-9 years ago, my first camera was a Nikon camera, and ever since then I've just stuck with Nikon because I had the cheaper crop sensor lenses, and it was just going to be too much money for me to switch over as a hobbyist photographer. I didn't have the money or the ability to switch from one system to a Canon or a Sony because, you know, photography was just my hobby. Now I've turned it into a business, and now it's pushing me towards upgrading my camera. And now the reason that I'm staying with Nikon and why I'm buying the new Nikon Z6ii is because of that lens. That lens is the 300mm f4. Basically, because that is a full frame lens, that lens will work on my new mirrorless system. I currently have a little bit of money, enough to fund the purchases of two new lenses for the Nikon Z6ii. Those are going to be the 24-70 and the 70-200. Both those lenses are Z lenses, so they will not work on any other camera I have. However, the Nikon 300mm f4 will fit on the new camera with an adapter. So that means I still have my expensive wildlife lens and I have two new lenses. So that is one of the main reasons why I decided to go with the new Nikon Z6 instead of switching completely over to Canon or Sony. Along with that, this new Nikon Z6ii I feel is the perfect mix of photography and video that I've ever seen in a Nikon camera. Yes, for me it is perfect. For other people it does not have enough video specs, or the autofocus isn't good enough, or there's a bunch of other very nitpicking reasons why people don't like the Nikon mirrorless lineup. But for me, as a photographer mainly, and I do video on the side, this new Nikon is the perfect camera for me to upgrade to from my current crop sensor camera. One of my friends is switching from a Canon crop sensor to the Sony A7S3, whatever it's called. I don't even know the name of it, but essentially he only had one camera and one lens in the Canon lineup. For me, being with Nikon for so long, I don't think their image quality is topped by either of those two main camera brands. Yes, the other two do have better video specs. Nikon, in my opinion, has the best photo quality. Another reason why I'm switching to the new Nikon Z6ii is the fact that it uses the same batteries as my D500. So the fact that the new Nikon Z6ii has the exact same battery as that camera is perfect for me. I don't need to waste another $100 or $200 spending on 4 or 5 new batteries for a new camera system, where if I were to switch over to Canon or Sony, I would also have to do that. So it is saving me a ton of money sticking with Nikon because I don't have to replace my wildlife lens or my batteries. And that is a big plus for me, and that is one of the main reasons why I'm sticking with Nikon, because I think that is superior to getting the better video specs or the better autofocus. From what I've seen in reviews, the Nikon Z6ii has awesome autofocus and is just a great all-around camera, and for me it's perfect. And so I wanted to tell you guys some of the specs that the camera has, and that includes a 24 megapixel sensor. It finally has the dual card slots, and those cards are again the same as my Nikon D500. This has 2 card slots. One is an SD card, and the other one is an XQD card. So I find that these cards are very expensive. I've only ever bought one of them, and it's been in my camera ever since. So I don't feel the need to invest in a bunch of these XQD cards. So I'm happy that I can keep the same one and just put this in the new camera. Another one of the main reasons why I struggled deciding on what new camera to buy is the fact that I do enjoy a DSLR. I like looking through the viewfinder and seeing what I'm seeing in real life. But for me, when I've looked through this camera that I'm filming on right now, the Canon EOS M50, it has an electronic viewfinder because this is a mirrorless camera. I personally, as a photographer, don't enjoy looking through an electronic viewfinder that much, but the way of the future is definitely mirrorless, and I have my eyes open to that, and I realize that. So I believe that if I were to buy a new camera that is a mirrorless camera, I eventually will get used to the electronic viewfinder. It was a big stumbling block, and it definitely pushed me more towards other cameras in the Nikon lineup, such as the D780, but I felt like the lenses and the upgrades in the future are going to be more towards the mirrorless lineup, so I felt like that was a better spot for me to put my investments, such as my lenses and the camera itself. So that is why I didn't go for a DSLR. I do really like a normal viewfinder, but the electronic one, I will definitely get used to it. So another plus for me in the Z6ii is the fact that it can go up to a 900-second exposure in the manual shooting mode. So for all of you that don't want to do the mental math, that is a 15-minute exposure. That for me is huge because I do a lot of long exposure photography for landscapes as well as star photography. That is great because I don't have to use my extra gear and plug in my cable release into the D500. I can just set it to manual, switch it to a 900-second exposure, and get that long exposure of 15 minutes in one shot without having to get any other tools out for assistance for the photo. Another big plus for me for this Z6ii is the fact that it can shoot up to 14 frames per second. So like I said, I am mainly a landscape photographer and adventure photographer, but I do love wildlife photography, and when I have the chance, I will definitely take wildlife photography over anything else. So the fact that it can go up to 14 frames per second is a huge plus, because if I'm ever in the situation where I need to capture the fast movement of an animal, I can use that 14 frames per second and capture everything in the split second. So for low light, it can go up to 51,200 ISO. That I never really take into consideration when I'm buying cameras. Personally, I never really go above 1000 ISO because I do not like the grain in my images. So yay, it can go up to 51,000, but nobody is ever going to touch that number because you're never posting that photo anywhere, you're never using that for anything. It's legitimately not usable past a couple thousand ISO in my opinion as a photographer. So for the autofocus system, it is a 273 point autofocus, and that has eye detection and face recognition. That'll be helpful for me when I'm doing my portrait photography. Along with this, it has built-in vibration reduction. It's sort of like a gimbal. So as you're moving, the mirror is going up and down, left to right. It's compensating for your movement in the camera. So it'll stabilize your camera and help you get better exposures and sharper photos in lower light situations. Along with this, it'll also stabilize your movement when you're taking video shots. And for me, that is very helpful because I do have a gimbal that I will use with this new Nikon Z6ii as well as the Canon M50. But for me, the gimbal is just a lot and it's kind of a hassle to grab out of the bag and set up and everything. So I'm more of the run and gun type photographer, so I don't feel like carrying a gimbal around. So the fact that it has VR, vibration reduction, or whatever the heck it's called, in the camera, that is very helpful because it'll stabilize video and it'll stabilize photos. Along with this, it has a touchscreen that is the same as my D500 and basically every single camera you're gonna buy nowadays. The one negative that people see for the touchscreen is the fact that it is only tilting. So that is the same as my D500. So it only tilts out like that and up. So it doesn't flip out. It's not like the Canon M50 where I can flip that screen all the way out and I am looking at myself on the screen right now. So that helps out in certain situations, but for what I need the camera for, I personally do not care about the flip out screen. I have this camera for my vlogging and talking to the camera, so I do not need a photography based camera with a flip out screen. That means absolutely nothing to me. And then we'll get into the video specs. I'm not going into depth on these. You can check those out on comparison videos, but essentially all I wanted was the fact that it can do 4K 30 frames per second. So that is perfectly good for my video needs. Along with this, I'm super happy that it can do 1080p and 120 frames per second, so that's super slow motion. That is perfect for my B-roll sequences. I don't need anything else. I don't even shoot in 4K, but it's good the fact that it has it, whereas this camera that I'm talking to right now, if I were to shoot in 4K, it has a crop. So the fact that the camera can shoot in 4K naturally is perfect, and that's all I need. I'm not gonna even film in 4K. And so basically guys, that is all I have to say about the Nikon Z6ii. I'm going to do a unboxing and real world test of it as soon as I get that camera, and I'm going to be ordering it in the next few days. It is still in pre-production, so I don't believe it is gonna be shipping until the end of November or the beginning of December. So I'm not gonna be posting anything more about this camera for a month or two. Along with the camera, I'm getting 2 lenses with it. As I said, I will also do reviews of both of those lenses. So hopefully that will help you guys out if you're making the same or similar decisions to me, whether you wanna stick with a DSLR or switch to a mirrorless camera. So hopefully this video helped you guys out. Subscribe to my channel if you wanna see more videos. I definitely do more fun stuff out in the field, but you know, lately I've been a little bit more inclined to do talking to the camera because there is a lot to talk about in the photography and videography world right now. So I'm going to do a tour of this desk behind me, so you can keep an eye out for a bunch of videos coming. And yeah, that is gonna be all for now. So I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.